Hey everybody, welcome back to Flag/Fan Friday. Hope you like the South Africa episode. This is the part where I talk about the small mistakes I made in the video or the things that didn't quite make it into the video. Sorry, life happens, move on. Second, it's boer.
Actually, it's boer, not boer. Single O's are normally pronounced O, but on the alphabet it's actually the letter O, and then double A's is R, not A. Kap would mean chop, and Kaap would mean cape. So boer is upper, cape, boer Kaap. And Kap would only be spelled with one P.
So many words, I don't But anyway, off of that, let's start talking about the flag. Okay, so without further ado. That was so fun filming the South Africa episode. I'm really glad that a lot of you guys participated. I loved hearing what you had to say about your country. Thank you, South African geography peeps. In any case, let's talk about this beauty here, shall we? The flag of South Africa has 6 bold colors, 2 horizontal bands of red and blue separated by a central green band with a white border which splits into a horizontal Y shape with arms extending to the corners of the hoist side. Within the interior of the Y shape, a black isosceles triangle can be found separated by a narrow yellow or gold band. According to the official South African government, the South African flag is a synopsis of principal elements of the country's flag history, and there are no universal statements that have been attached to any of the colors. The only symbolic meaning behind the flag is the Y shape, which alludes to the convergence of diverse elements within South African society and taking the road ahead into unity. So even though they say each of the colors don't specifically allude to anything, one of the most common unofficial interpretations is that it stands for all of the diverse people groups found within the country.
So what the guy that came up with this flag is, he took the old Dutch flag and added the ANC flag to it. And you can kind of see the influences of the Union Jack with the white and the tail there at the back. It's very subtle. It's really a suitable flag for South Africa because it ties together the colonial past, the modern day politics, as well as the Boer republics.
Prior to apartheid years, South Africa used this flag, which was inspired by the Dutch Prince flag, but it also had 3 smaller flags in the center of it. The Union Jack, which symbolized the old Cape Colony, and Natal, which were
This flag is known as the Oranje Banja Blauw, the orange, white and blue. These days people refer to it as the apartheid flag, but the apartheid government actually despised this flag because this flag was inherited from Jan Smuts regime, who had a much more favorable view of the English. The apartheid leaders actually referred to the English flag as a bloodstain on the national flag. The positioning of the Union Jack is first because that gives it the most honor, meant to appease the English for losing the colony, but this is seen as an insult for the locals. The Union Jack reminded Afrikaans communities of how the British decimated Boer families during the Boer War. The campaign to change the flag under the apartheid government was stepped up after 1961 when South Africa left the Commonwealth. But the English South Africans already felt that the flag was too dramatic a change, so the apartheid government never got around to changing the flag.
As well as the Oranje Vrystaat, or the Orange Free State, South African Republic flag, all together joined into one union, and this flag was the result.
So there's an entire flag in must. The Union of South Africa was created in 1910, and there was in fact 2 South African flags during that period. The red flag was called the Red Duster and was more common, and Canada also adopted the red version. Bobby's not the only one that got it wrong though, so these things happen. Even Time magazine has fucked up. Here's a graphic to give you a better sense of the timeline of the flags. There's a lot of irony to the South African flags. The Union flag was supposed to unite the people, and it's remembered for dividing people under a different government that created it. The apartheid government finally got to change the flag, but then they lost power almost immediately in 1994, with the leaders of the National Party as well as the ANC agreeing on the flag. The current South African flag was only designed in a week, but it seems like it's here to stay, even though the South African flag that we use today was only meant as an interim flag between the shifts of governments from the apartheid government to the incoming ANC government. So that covers the national flags of South Africa, but there's 2 more sets of flags that we could actually talk about. Those are the Bantustan flags as well as the war flags of the Boer War. During the Boer War, pretty much every Boer leader, I really hate pronouncing it this way, it's pronounced Boer, but I'm saying it this way because this is how English people say it all over the world. Every Boer general had their own flag basically, and pretty much all of them were different versions of mixing the colors between the Transvaal flag and the Oranje Vrystaat flag. What you're looking at now is the star vierkleur that was used by the Jewish volunteers that fought on the South African side. The crescent moon vierkleur was used by the Muslim volunteers, and the Jewish and Muslim volunteers sometimes fought under each other's banners during the war as well. The Bantustan flags are apartheid era flags where the government broke up the indigenous black people into their native tribes and made them each like a nation with their own territory and their own government. So it was the system of indigenous governments all over the country. Kind of like America has their councils for Native Americans and they all represent their own people, but they're not really recognized by any governments. Same thing happened here. I just remembered there's another set of historic flags that also could be in this video. South Africa wasn't always one place, one colony, and even with the three main ones he showed, those weren't always united either. With all these republics and their flags, it's not really clear how many of them were actually recognized, but they figured it out and all ended up being the two main Boer republics that we know today.
You know, it's funny, a lot of people ask me, like, Barbs, what's your favorite flag? And I try not to show any bias. But I have to admit, I mean, look at the South African flag. It's just like, it's colorful, bold, symmetrical, powerful. I have to say, I think it would probably be in like one of my top threes. This is a really cool flag, I gotta admit, I really like it.
The last flag, while digging through the archives, I discovered this monstrosity. Before the flag changed to its current form, this is what the ANC submitted as their candidate for the national flag. With that said, thanks for watching. There is more to Bob's video, so I'll link it in the description. Bobs, if you're watching, I've been with you since the beginning. You're creeping on 400 million views. Mad respect, you're the goat of geography.